Hi there, this is Tata, and welcome to the Wrestling Time Post Show. For tonight, I will be talking about Friday Night SmackDown only because AEW Rampage started at a special start time, so unfortunately I didn't watch Rampage. Okay, so tonight was the night one of the WWE Draft, and Triple H came out and he welcomed everybody to SmackDown, and he said that tonight's draft changes will not go into effect until May 8th, which is after Backlash, which totally makes sense because the draft is going to continue on Monday. And not only that, but that is the go home show to Backlash. And next week's SmackDown is also the go home show to Backlash. So, of course, you don't want to move anybody around until after Backlash. So, of course, the first pick, for number one pick, goes to SmackDown. These people get drafted as a trio. It's Paul Heyman, Solo Sikoa, and Roman Reigns. Now, I found that to be very interesting because the Usos were not eligible to be drafted until Monday. So this to me tells me that they're probably going to split up the bloodline. I mean, it makes sense that Roman Reigns wouldn't want to be with the Usos since they're not tag team champions. And they do have a tag team title match scheduled later on in the night. And it's do or die. They either regain those tag titles or they probably are going to end up getting kicked out of the bloodline. So Raw's first pick is Cody Rhodes, which I thought was interesting. So they separated Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. And as Triple H mentioned on Raw, the new World Heavyweight title is going to be exclusive to whatever brand Roman didn't get drafted to. So since he didn't get drafted to Raw, Roman is taking the titles with him to SmackDown, and the world title is going to be exclusive to Raw. I really hope that doesn't mean they're planning on making Cody Rhodes the inaugural champion. I mean, I feel like that would be such a consolation prize. And this is where things get interesting. The next pick for SmackDown is Bianca Belair. Despite the fact that she's the Raw Women's Champion and Rhea Ripley's the SmackDown Women's Champion. So I wonder if you're going to have a Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch situation. You guys remember where Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair being champions of their respective brands got drafted to the opposite brand. So all they did was change titles, but of course, the titles were thrown. So it's going to be two things. Either A, they just switch titles like Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch did, or you just have them keep their titles, but you rename the titles instead of being the SmackDown Women's Champion or the Raw Women's Champion. They'll be the WWE Women's Champion and the Women's World Champion. Kind of like how back in the Ruthless Aggression era, you had the WWE Champions and the World Champions. So maybe it'll be something like that. Something similar like that, I would say. And the last pick for Raw is none other than Becky Lynch. And that is the conclusion to the first round of the draft. And so then Triple H introduces the Usos and Solo Sikoa. So then this leads into a promo by them. So of course Jimmy and Jay said that the bloodline is now in their city. Jimmy congratulates Roman Reigns for being the first draft pick. And they start talking about how Roman Reigns has communicated with them since WrestleMania. He's not returning texts, he's not returning calls, emails, smoke signals, you name it, any type of communication method that the Usos have tried, Roman Reigns is not returning. Then Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn come out, and Sami Zayn says he's not here to talk sense into the Usos. He's here. He asks the Usos if they don't think it's strange that Roman Reigns hasn't communicated with them. And Jay says that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are not walking out with anything. Jimmy says that Kevin Owens will turn on Sami Zayn after they drop those tag titles. And Kevin Owens says he's sick and tired of everybody saying that and that they're kicking the Usos' ass tonight. So I was actually really looking forward to this main event match. Being there live, WrestleMania Night 1 was incredible. That match had me at the edge of my seat, and it was phenomenal to witness Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn capturing those tag titles live. So afterwards, we get Butch versus LA Knight, and this was a really good match. I really like that Butch did a reverse 10 beats to the Baron to LA Knight. And I was so surprised, but extremely happy that LA Knight got the win here because I was not expecting him to win. As we all know, he's been taking a lot of L's, so I was really happy he got the win here. And overall, I thought it was a good match. We have an Usos backstage summit in which Paul Heyman is telling the Usos that tonight is the night. Tonight's the night that the Usos will return to the locker room with the tag title. So in this situation, Jimmy and Jay are sitting down with their backs to Heyman, and Heyman is standing behind them, and Solo Sikoa is next to Paul Heyman. And so something interesting happens. Paul Heyman hands Solo Sikoa the wrist tape that he's missing, and he stared at him while saying, "Tonight is the night." So seems to me like Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa know that something's going on, and the Usos really don't know anything. So very curious to see what's going to happen if the Usos fail to regain those tag titles tonight, and what's going to happen if they lose at Backlash. So with round 2 of the draft, you get the Street Profits going to SmackDown, Imperium going over to Raw, SmackDown gets the WWE Hall of Famer Edge, and Raw keeps Matt Riddle. So I was surprised to see Imperium go to Raw, and since Gunther is Intercontinental Champion, that tells me that maybe Austin Theory is going to get drafted over to SmackDown. So this is going to lead into a triple threat tag team match: the Street Profits versus Ricochet and Braun Strowman versus the LWO in the form of Joaquin, Wilde, and Cruz del Toro. But before that, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford say that they're back on the blue, but nothing has changed but the day they work, and they still want the smoke. So I have to say, I actually really liked this match. There was a lot of high flying involved, and even though the Street Profits won this match, I'm really happy that Joaquin Phoenix I say Joaquin Phoenix. I'm really happy. I said Joaquin Phoenix. Oh my god. I'm really happy that Joaquin, Wilde, and Cruz del Toro, even though they lost, did not get pinned. Instead, Ricochet got pinned after Montez Ford hit him with that splash. So really happy that they weren't the ones getting pinned here. And LWO's got to start raking in some W's here. They've been on a losing streak. So we had different cameos from wrestlers, at least saying the picks for the respective brands. Like on the second round, we had RVD and we had Michael Hayes. I thought it was hilarious that RVD picked Matt Riddle. And so with round 3, we got JBL and Teddy Long. JBL was doing SmackDown and Teddy Long doing Raw, which I felt was an odd choice considering the fact that Teddy Long was SmackDown GM for such a long time. But I get why they went with JBL to do the SmackDown picks. He was at one point the longest reigning SmackDown champion until AJ Styles broke that record. So SmackDown got Bobby Lashley and the OC, while Raw got Drew McIntyre and The Miz. So I was actually disappointed that Bobby Lashley moved over to SmackDown and Imperium got moved over to Monday Night Raw, because I really wanted to see Bobby Lashley versus Gunther for the Intercontinental title. It could still happen, maybe at Survivor Series if Bobby Lashley is United States champion by then, and assuming Gunther is still Intercontinental champion by then. As far as the OC is concerned, it's really happy to see AJ Styles back on SmackDown. If you guys remember back in 2016, during that brand split era, AJ Styles got drafted over to SmackDown, and SmackDown became the house that AJ Styles built. He was the face that ran the place. So it's nice to see him on SmackDown again. So after the round 3 of the draft, we get Zelina Vega versus Sonya Deville, which was an okay match. This is obviously designed to get Zelina Vega to have momentum going into Backlash. So Zelina Vega won, but then Rhea Ripley attacked her from behind with a drop kick, and Rhea headbutted Sonya. Chelsea Green ran from Rhea, and Rhea Ripley tried to do the Riptide, but Zelina Vega countered with the DDT, and then Zelina ran away. So I have to say, I'm not really happy with this type of booking, because why would you have Zelina run away from Rhea? She's supposed to be the baby face here. I know Zelina Vega is going to lose, because WWE hasn't done a good job of making me believe that Zelina Vega even stands a chance against Rhea Ripley. But I hope it's not a squash match. She's wrestling in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and I hope she gets some shine and actually looks good. And even though she's going to lose, she actually looks good in defeat, but I don't want to get my hopes up. So then we get a backstage segment with Zelina Vega, and she says the LWO lit a spark in her, and Rey Mysterio tells her that she needs to believe in herself. Rey Mysterio says that he was smaller than any opponent, and he fought his way into the Hall of Fame, and they predict that Zelina will leave as SmackDown Women's Champion. Like I said, I don't think Zelina Vega is going to beat Rhea Ripley here, but I'm hoping that she still gets that shine. She still gets to show off what she can do. It's criminal that they're not allowing Zelina Vega to wrestle more. She's just been pretty much a manager the entire time she's been in WWE. She's wrestled here and there, but they don't let her wrestle as much. So we shall see. So after this, we get the OC segment, and they come out. But before they can even cut a promo, the Viking Raiders interrupt them. AJ Styles says he just wants to make sure they came out to pick a fight. And AJ Styles scooted into the turnbuckle to even the odds. And Styles tells the OC to handle business. Ivar gets hit with the magic killer, and AJ says that they just started. So I'm happy to see the fact that the OC is making a statement here. It seems like they have intentions to run Friday Night SmackDown, but the problem is they sent this message at the expense of the Viking Raiders, who for a while now who have had their push started and then stopped. And really, they went down like such chumps in this segment. And they came back. They had incredible momentum, and it just seems like now the Viking Raiders are just there. I know right now we don't know what's going to happen with the tag team titles, but at some point I thought that the Viking Raiders would actually be legit contenders, but now I don't see them as legit contenders. I mean, look what they're doing to them. I had no problems with the OC making a statement or with them looking good. My only issue is that it came at the expense of the Viking Raiders. Why not send a couple of jobbers out there? For the fourth round of the draft, we had Road Dogg and Shawn Michaels come out and announce the picks. So Shawn Michaels did SmackDown, Road Dogg did Raw. Shawn Michaels announced that Damage Control was going over to SmackDown. Road Dogg announced that Raw got Nakamura, and SmackDown got the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions Alba Fire and Elsa Dawn, and Raw got the NXT Women's Champion Indy Hartwell. So they drafted all of the women's champions from NXT over to the main roster. So I'm assuming Indy Hartwell, Alba Fire, and Elsa Dawn are going to drop those titles at this week on NXT. I mean, I don't watch NXT, so I'm not too familiar with Alba Fire and Elsa Dawn's work. I know a little bit about Indy Hartwell and the whole storyline with Dexter Lumis, but what's going on here? They drafted the champions. So I would be so surprised if neither of these women drop those titles, but they probably are. We get a quick Shinsuke Nakamura backstage interview. He said he is excited to go to Raw, but before he can say anything else, Karrion Kross attacks Shinsuke Nakamura, and that's pretty much it. And we find out next week they're going to have a match. We also find out that next week it's going to be Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows versus the Viking Raiders, and Bad Bunny is going to be there. So we get another segment with the Usos, and they're getting ready to go out to the ring, and Paul Heyman tells Solo Sikoa to stay in the back because Roman Reigns wants a spotlight on the Usos. And once again, Paul Heyman tells Solo that tonight is the night. The main event ends up being a WrestleMania rematch. It is Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos for the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. It was do or die for the Usos. And so before the match even starts, the Usos attack Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. We had Jimmy sending Sami Zayn into the ring post. You had Jay super kicking KO. I really like that sunset flip powerbomb that Sami Zayn did to Jay. Then he followed it up with a blue thunder bomb. You had a cannonball to Jey Uso. You had a fisherman's buster to Jimmy by Kevin Owens, which he followed up with the senton. And while this is happening, Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa are watching backstage. And Paul Heyman receives a phone call, which I'm assuming is from Roman Reigns, and he tells Solo that tonight is his night. You have Jay once again super kicking Sami Zayn. You had Kevin Owens do a center to Jimmy. That was not enough. So Sikoa comes out, and before he even gets a chance to do anything, Matt Riddle attacks him and takes him away. Then you had, I guess you can say, a super kick party here because the Usos double super kick Kevin Owens, a double super kick Sami Zayn, and then they gave another double super kick to Kevin Owens. So it truly was a super kick party. And just when they think that they're about to win, Sami Zayn pulls Jay out of the ring and sends him into the steel steps. Sami Zayn does the haluva kick to Jimmy, and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are victorious, and that is how my Friday Night SmackDown ends. So Roman Reigns is probably not going to be happy with the Usos losing this match. Now, Next week's is certainly going to be interesting because it is a go-home show to Backlash, and we are getting that 6-man tag match at Backlash. So if something doesn't go down at Backlash, it definitely will go down after. But I honestly think the Usos are getting kicked out of the bloodline. Maybe Solo turns on them at Backlash. Maybe he leaves them hanging. But Roman's not going to be happy. And the Usos are going to face his wrath even after they dedicated their victory to Roman Reigns and they failed to win. So overall, I did enjoy tonight's show. I thought tonight's show was fantastic. Definitely one of the better SmackDowns that we've had over the last couple of weeks. The only thing I disliked was the women's match, and that's not their fault. It's the booking and the OC segment with the Viking Raiders. Had that been just a random jobber team, I would have been okay with it. But because it was the Viking Raiders, I wasn't too happy about that. So aside from those two things, I'd give tonight's SmackDown a solid 8 out of 10. It was a great show with the great wrestling, and so I can't complain too much about it. But with that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continued support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever I go live or release a new video. And I will see you guys hopefully Monday after Raw. Bye.